What is up, everybody? Zariel here, and welcome to my 2014 E3 reactions for the Ubisoft press conference that just got finished a couple minutes ago. Here to talk to you guys about some of the games that pretty much every game that they announced, and just to give you my final thoughts on it towards the end of the video. So, without further ado, let's just dive right into it. So, first off, when the E3 Ubisoft conference first started, they immediately shot straight to the games. And this is one thing that I was really happy about. Often when you get these E3 conferences, they always talk about other things and this, that, and the third, which they kind of did. They kind of touched on that a little bit, which I'm going to get on them about that later on in the video. But they just shot right into the games. And soon as the conference started, they did a trailer for Far Cry 4. Now, they didn't really explain too much about it. Like there wasn't any like video game demos about the game, but what the game, or rather what the trailer was about, was that you're playing as this guy and you're riding in the back of this truck, and there's this old man sitting across from you, and he asks for your passport, and he puts a little bit of money in it, and he hands it right back to you. Then you guys come to this stop, or like this checkpoint, and these military uh, men are on the outside, and they're checking the passport of one of the passengers, or the driver rather, that was in the vehicle. And next thing you know, one of the military men slaps the passport out the guy's hand, and they're checking underneath the vehicle for like a with like a mirror. And I'm guessing they found something, because no sooner than the guy found something, the driver, who I believe it was, took out a gun and started shooting the military personnel, and then they ended up killing the driver. And two other guys jumped out the back of the vehicle and they tried to run. They ended up getting shot down. And as you're peeping out the window, they shoot at you, and then they end up getting you out the vehicle along with the old man that was sitting across from you. And the entire time there's this helicopter flying towards you. So while you and the old man are on the ground face down, and the military personnel has their guns pointed towards you, this guy comes out. I don't know his name because they didn't say it, but like he looks like a, I don't know how to put it, like a wealthy. The best way for me to explain his personality is like he's like a wealthy psychopath. That's what he came off as to me, as a wealthy psychopath. And he begins to talk to one of the military personnel, and he said that I specifically told you to stop the vehicle and not to shoot it. And like like he even starts to call him like stupid, and he even starts to play with the words a bit, like shoot stop. Did that sound the same to you? Then he takes out a pen, it seems like, and he just stabbed the guy. He just stabbed him to death. And then the only thing he says when he gets off of him is that, damn, I got blood on my shoes. And it was like the most awkward moment that I've ever seen in a video game in quite some time. And then he picks you up, he hugs you, then he even takes a selfie with you in the picture. And it's just one of those random moments. And the only thing I can really say about Far Cry 4 is that it really looks suspenseful. But then you know they go over to Jason Altman, who comes out to explain more about Just Dance 2015. Now, I was checking the chat box, and nobody was interested in this damn game. It's really like Just Dance is one of those games that, you know, was only meant for people that seriously gives a fuck about dancing. And like that's it. Like the average gamer doesn't give a fuck about Just Dance at all. And I don't know how well the game sells. I don't know the history of how well the game has sold, but just based on the reactions that people had, nobody gave a fuck about this game. But of course, it was presented at the Ubisoft press conference, so I have to talk about it if I'm going to do some honest reactions. Again, James Altman came out to explain more about the game, and the first thing he brings up is a smartphone and using your smartphone as a controller, and how anyone with a smartphone and the Just Dance app could join in, you know, and he didn't say anything about if it was like drop in or drop out, and I wouldn't expect it to really have anything like that. But didn't we kind of go through this kind of crap already? I mean, it seems cool for like Just Dance, but at the same time, it reminds me of kind of what they did last year with like Smart Glass. It's like, hey, guess what? If you download the app or you download, you know what I'm saying? Like, come on, like nobody really cares about having Just Dance on the phone. But then again, the people that play Just Dance, I guess that's good for them. And anybody with an iPhone, I guess, hey, guess what? You can download a Just Dance app and you can jump in somebody else's game. It seems like, you know, and just troll the hell out of them. But like they even brought out like a big group of people to dance with their smartphones, and and the funny thing was like there were a couple people on stage that got lost with the dancing. Like there was this one guy in the back and he had on like this orange shirt. He was not moving at all. Like he just was doing like side to side steps. Like he was just lost. And that was like the funniest thing about that segment. And yeah, Just Dance 2015. I mean, I get if you guys are into it, hey, you know, yeah. Okay, so next up was Tom Clancy's The Division. It was presented by Peter Manafelt. And the plot is that you're a part of this New York City that has been taken over by viruses and different factions, and you're a part of this group called the Division uh, that is fighting to take New York City back. And during the trailer that they showed, all it really was is that like the camera zoomed around like the insides of a home. You seen like different cutouts and you know like little quick shifts, if that's what they call them. But you're just zooming around this house in first person, and then out of nowhere it goes to this window, and then like you hear a gunshot, and then blood splatters all over the window, and it was just like real eerie in the beginning, and then you proceed to go outside, mind you, like you're still in first person, you know, and the game is going down like the roads that's covered in snow, and you hear bodies falling out and you see glass breaking from the bodies falling out, but you don't see anybody. So in the beginning, it was kind of confusing because I didn't know what was going on. Like I didn't know if they was going to have you playing as an invisible guy in the game, or if everybody else in the game was going to be like invisible, or there was going to be moments in the game like that. But eventually, of course, an actual person showed up, and like the whole theme of that segment was supposed to be like you don't really realize what's going on. So it was very eerie slash hopeful. And another thing was there was this one guy that was standing in the middle of the road, and like he helps this guy up, this other guy up. Mind you, I don't know the names of any of these characters because they didn't really say them, but he picks the guy up out of the middle of the road, and I'm assuming that the guy that helped him up was a part of the Division. And next thing you know, like you see these two guys just walk up, and they have guns with them, and they're aiming them at this man, and then out of nowhere, a bunch of other people who I'm assuming was, you know, also a part of the Division, like they just came out of nowhere and they just aimed their guns at him. And then no sooner than that happened, this flame just started out of nowhere in the back Turns out it was this guy dressed up in like fireman gear with a flamethrower, just walks around the corner looking all badass, and then this big garbage truck with people on it just looks like they were ready for a gunfight. And I really don't know what to say about the game, really, because it's kind of hard to tell how the games will actually be just from the trailer alone, especially when they don't have any gameplay in it. But the story of the game seems interesting, and from that, I'm looking or I'm hoping that they do Tom Clancy's name justice. You know, now I know like a lot of the Tom Clancy's games, none of them like there were like a lot of them that didn't really, you know, weren't really mind blowing over the years. But still, I hope this does his memory justice, and they do right by the series of games. So that's pretty much the only thing I can really hope for with Tom Clancy's The Division. So next they presented The Crew, a game that was supposed to be uh, a launch title for the PlayStation 4, if I'm not mistaken, but it was pushed back several months. And what they said that they're bringing with The Crew is that supposedly it's supposed to be like a coast to coast racing game without any loading time. Now, how that will work, I'm curious to know myself. And the trailer was just a fast forwarded race. It wasn't really anything special. Next, Julian Greddy, I hope I pronounced his last name right. He came out and he mentioned that the trailer was actually, or like that trailer that they shown was actually a 2 hour plus mission in the game. It was just fast forwarded because they didn't want people to, get bored and sit there and watch that for like 2 hours. And I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, who wants to be on a mission for 2 plus hours? That one right there was kind of, you know, sketchy to me. Like, I don't think anybody wants to sit there and be in a racing game for 2 plus hours on a mission, and all you're doing is just driving. Like, that's like a bit much. You know, I don't think anybody. I mean, saying like everybody has like bills and they have other things that they need to do. I think a 2 hour plus mission is kind of ridiculous to have in pretty much any game for that matter. But they do have a closed beta that you can join. Uh, July 23rd, you can register for a closed beta at their website, I believe, that they announced. Mind you, like I was getting up several times during the conference, so little details as to like where you can go. I'm pretty sure that you can Google it as to where you can go to, so like register for the closed beta. But the game's release date is November 11th. So let's hope that the pushback was actually, something worth doing. Otherwise, it'll just be a waste of time, and all will be for naught. Like what was the sense of pushing the game back if you didn't really add anything else to it? So let's just hope that the pushback did the game some justice. That's as far as I'm gonna go with that. Next up, they pronounced a game that a lot of people that were watching the conference was very anxious to see. It was Assassin's Creed Unity, and Alex Amanico, again, I hope I pronounced his last name right, came out to explain a bit more about the game. Now, the plot takes place in Paris during the French Revolution, and you're playing as a new assassin called Samuel Fay. And what they presented was a demo of the game. And first off, what I would like to say about this demo is that I'm glad this wasn't a repeat of last year's E3. Last year's E3 was kind of a flop. They presented Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, and the game demo crashed. During the demo, like it kept freezing at certain spots, and then it just gave out. and it was like one of the most hilarious things that I've seen. Like, how the hell, like, how are you going to present a game during like the biggest gaming conference of the year and not know that this was going to happen? Like, I don't know if it was just like bad luck or it didn't happen while they were doing the game testing, or if they did any game testing at all, so like prior to the conference. But that happened last year, and I'm just happy it didn't happen this year. So, like the lead game designer comes out, and I can't remember his name, because I was typing like the names of the guys, and like they said his name really quick, but I got so caught up in the game demo that I forgot the guy's name. But I heard that he was the lead designer of the game. So, but yeah, he comes out and he plays the demo, and Samuel Fay is on top of this building, and he's just looking down, and there's an execution about to take place. So what the objective is that you had to kill this guy named Xavier, and he's running through the crowds of people, and he's chasing certain individuals uh, through the game, and pretty much, you know, he climbs up another building. Like this is like a terrible reactions video, but yeah, he climbs up another building, and he jumps on like this pole that was right above the target, and then he just jumps down and just stabs him, kills him, and that was the end of the demo. But right before like the demo ended, as the camera was zooming out, three more player icons showed up. And one thing they said that you're able to do in this game, in Assassin's Creed Unity, is have up to four people playing in uh, the same story mission, and that's going to be interesting to see. And there was several other things happening. They had a they had a trailer where they had multiple assassins, which were supposed to be like other players supposedly, and they were just attacking this mass amount of French revolutionaries, and they were just killing them. And one had tossed a smoke bomb, and the assassins one by one was just taking them out, and it was very, very action packed. So I'm really eager to see what Assassin's Creed Unity is actually going to do. Um, they announced a release date. I believe they said it was October 28th, but the camera just had like a quick glance at the release date on screen, and really, so like then it just zoomed back over to the crowd, and then when it went back, it like was going. So I didn't really get a good look at it, but I believe it said October 28th, but don't quote me on that. But I believe it did say October 28th, if I remember correctly. But yeah, man. Move this back to where it was. There we go. And then up next, Charles Huteu. I swear, like, it's some weird last names these people have. But he comes out and he presents this workout game called Shape Up. And the way that they presented the game was that it's a workout game, but it's supposed to be fun, quote unquote. And the way it looks is that it actually looks like Dance Dance Revolution with a crossover of Guitar Hero. Like, that's the best way that I can explain it, except their body is the guitar, so to speak. Like, it's pretty interesting to look at. Now, it looks like a good party game, but I'm pretty sure that the last thing on people's mind is a full body workout when they're trying to play a video game, unless you're just into working out or, things like that. But what they showcased was this piano versus mode, and like you're just in front of the screen, and depending on where you're stepping, you know what I'm saying, like that's the piano key that's going to be pressed. And again, it was like a versus mode going on there between him and this other guy who I believe was himself. Like I think he recorded himself beforehand, and then he went up against himself in the game demo. And you know they were going back and forth during the versus mode, and it was like I said, like it looked fun, it looked interesting, but pretty much like it didn't look like a typical workout type of game. It looked like an actual versus physical challenging type of game, pretty much. And the funniest moment during this segment was actually when they brought out like two average Joes. One guy was an American and the other guy was French, and they had a traditional, a traditional push-up contest. And as they were doing push-ups in the game, different items were like stacked on their back in the game. So it seems like the more push-ups that you do, the different item that gets placed on the back of the player. And I'm guessing that's supposed to represent like a strength level and things like that. And you know, it again, like it looks fun. It looks, interactive. Of course, it looks interesting to play. Of course, like the French guy won. I said, of course, like I didn't have no faith in the American guy, but still, man, like the game looks like one of those workout games that the people who've been waiting for one, so it seems like this is the one that they've been waiting for. Something that's immersive, something that's fun, something that's a workout but doesn't feel like one per se. And you know, Shape Up looks pretty good. Next up, they presented Valiant Hearts: The Great War, which was inspired by the written letters um, that which were inspired by letters that were written during the Great War at that time. It is a puzzle adventure game, and the overlining plot of the story is Emile, who is a French cook, and his daughter falls in love with a young German soldier who gets drafted just as the Great War, you know, starts, and he gets pulled over to the German side. So it's like this German soldier falls in love, with a French woman, but yet he gets drafted just as soon as as the war kicks off, and he gets pulled to the German side, which is kind of sad when you think about it, because now this woman, like the love of her life, is now fighting for the quote unquote enemy side, and it's kind of crazy. So yeah, he just as the war gets drafted, he gets pulled to the German side of the front, and the daughter, of course, she's broken and emotional, and she wants her true love back. And Emile, being an older man, he wants to help his daughter, so he decides to enlist. And on the first attack, he gets captured, and the game, takes off from there. Now, the gameplay of the game, again, it's a adventure slash puzzle game, and the way the dialogue works is actually kind of like a comic book style, where you get shown pictures as to what these characters want you to do, and then you have to go do it. So one of the things that they did, for example, was that they, well, like the character, had walked over to this guard, so with this dog, and he was commanded to, so like fetch the dog some water, or to, so like turn the handle and let the water pour into the dog bowl. So you had to walk over there, push X, and then you gotta, turn it, and of course the water fills up in the dog bowl, and then the dog goes over there to take a drink. Then you had to go cook some sausage, and up in like the upper right corner, there was actually like some directions as to how to go about to make the sausage. So first you had to turn the handle, let water pour into the pot, then you had to pull a lever in order for fire to start, and then you had to, you know what I'm saying, like get the sausage to pour into the pot, and then you had to cook the sausage like that, then you had to pull it out, and you had to feed the other soldiers that were there. So it seems to be like pretty simple mechanics with the game overall, but it gets more complicated as the game goes on. So that actually looks like it could be pretty fun. So I'm kind of looking forward to Valiant Hearts. So lastly, there was a game that again people in the chat box were really asking for, which was Rainbow Six Siege. And the game, I mean, truth be told, it seems to be like a traditional FPS army, you know, game where you're in teams of five and you're going up against, of course, like um, enemy squads, and you can shoot through walls, and you can peep through the holes that you just shot in the wall, and you can use that as cover and things like that. And then he just kept laying down like these bombs that seem to open up, as you're laying them down. And I've never seen a bomb like that before. But yeah, but they did that, and that was pretty much the full extent of the demo. Like they didn't really do anything too spectacular. It seems like that they were trying to protect a girl. Excuse me, in the video. Um, and it wasn't really anything too memorable about the game. Or saying like about the demo, it was just a traditional FPS where it seemed like your team was going up against the opponents, and your job was to protect this girl. And you know, and it's crazy because like at or like during the gameplay of the demo, you started seeing icons, saying like disappearing as the demo went on. So it's like as you lose teammates, then like an icon will vanish. So just indication that hey, like your team is dead. But the one thing I can say about Rainbow Siege is that it seems to be an action-packed FPS shooter, pretty much like an action-packed traditional FPS shooter. That's pretty much what it seems to be. You know, um, nothing too crazy about it, but it's coming. So overall, what do I think about the Ubisoft press conference? I think that they did a good job with just presenting the games. One thing that I wasn't too crazy about is Just Dance, 2015. I mean, I didn't really think it was anything, you know, worth much mentioning. Of course, they brought up cell phone technology again, which I think kind of defeats the purpose of you having, you know, I don't know, like online capabilities. Uh, and I really don't know what to say about it. Yeah, I think it's just another Just Dance game. But overall, like I think they did a good job with keeping with the games. Like it wasn't like some press conferences with other people or like with other companies in previous E3 conferences that where they just focused on you know smart glass, smart glass, smart glass. Hint hint. And you know, for the most part, I was happy with what I've seen, and I'm eager to play a lot of the games that they presented, especially Assassin's Creed Unity. That they really, really showed me something that I'm eager to get my hands on. So Assassin's Creed. 5 Unity. Um, I would say that Valiant Hearts, The Great War was another one. Um, as well as Far Cry 4. I'm interested in seeing more of that game, so I'm hoping that they release like a demo of that game soon because I'm eager to get my hands on it. But yeah, man. So that's my reactions to the 2014 E3 Ubisoft press conference. I hope you guys are paying attention to it because they presenting some good stuff. And up next, they have the Sony E3 press conference, which starts in like, let me see, in about like 4 hours. So that'll give me just enough time to go get me something to eat and rest up. Yeah, I'll be doing my live reactions to the Sony E3 conference. So you guys stay tuned and thanks for watching.